All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cheri Hipenbecker. I'm with Nightberry Title. I am also with Focus Title. If you don't know, Nightberry Title is a member of Focus Title. Focus Title is the title company, of course, that works with Keller Williams. We're really happy to be part of this. I just left a message for Kathleen. Kathleen, could you show your screen here? I'm going to have you share your screen. I'm going to stop share, and we're just going to look at stop share. Kathleen, are you around? Let's see, where are you? Okay, Kathleen, did you just hear me call you?
Yes.
Okay, can you go to your voicemail? And then play for everybody the voicemail that just happened.
Okay. Not sure.
It'll be okay. I know I'm surprising you, Kathleen.
No, I'm on my earphones, so I don't know if it'll work.
Okay, let's give it a shot. This is a new experiment for me, by the way, but I want to show you how people can leave you voicemail messages directly. And this is how seller impersonation fraud, which you may not have heard of yet, it's called seller impersonation fraud, works. It's the newest twist on cybercrime. Kathleen, if you could play your voicemail.
I was guessing you can't hear it.
Oh no, can you turn it up and unplug your headphones and put it right next to your microphone in your computer?
I have to find a different area because I'm in the middle of the bullpen. So
let's try it one more way. Hey, Lynn, can you provide me place a new call? Could you provide me your phone number?
Yep.
414-559-2069.
2069.
2069. Now, Lynn, where should I pretend that my call is coming from? I got Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Michigan, Kentucky, Minnesota.
Yeah, let's go with Kentucky.
Let's go Kentucky. That's a good place to go. And should I be a man or should I be a woman?
Let's have you be a man.
That sounds good. And should I have it go straight to voicemail?
That'd be wonderful.
Or can I call you? Let's do it together, not straight to voicemail, just for fun. You'll pick it up and I'll be talking to you at the same time you'll be listening. All right. So now I'm going to start placing my call to you. Come on up, Lynn.
Come on down. Got it.
You're the next contestant on the place. Right.
Sitting waiting on you. Want me to answer?
Yes, please answer.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Lynn. This is Bob. Is it coming through as a mail? Okay, I'm going to go over here.
You can put yours up. Here we go.
I'm really interested in listing some property in Wisconsin. Are you a realtor in the area?
I'm hoping you guys can hear this.
Would you be able to help me? If I email you my email contact information for me to bring it going over just Lynn, were you talking to me?
I was talking to you.
Did it sound like you were talking to me?
It did not sound like I was talking to you.
Oh my goodness. And guess how much that cost me to do that?
How much?
18 cents. Folks, the newest the newest crime that we have, I'm going to start sharing my screen now, is seller impersonation fraud. We're going to walk through some history of cybercrime, but what I just showed you is the newest way that criminals are being able to essentially steal property. What I did right there is I went onto a website called spoofcard.com, and for a whopping $29.95, I purchased 160 credits. I can make 160 calls just like I did for Lynn. It cost me, if you divide 160 by $29.95, it's about 18 cents. I can change my voice. I can designate where I was calling from. And On your phone, did it indicate that I was calling from, I don't know, New Berlin, Wisconsin?
Did not.
What did it indicate?
It showed that it was just a United States call with an area code of 270.
Okay, my real area code is 262. So I actually originated a call from 262, but it spoofed it as 270. Am I a male? Last time I checked, I'm not. I came in through as a male. We were live discussion. And what was I trying to do?
Trying to get a property listed.
And did it sound legit, semi-legit what I was saying?
Yeah, people are very anxious this time of the year to get their properties on the market. I think that's fair.
So that's the newest spoof. We're going to do a kind of a walkthrough of cybercrime, but what the biggest thing that you need to be aware of right now is called seller impersonation fraud. It started in Florida but this time last year, as all good frauds start in Florida. That's what I've decided. All good frauds start in Florida, and then they make their ways up. Just last week, we had 2 in Wisconsin that were stopped by our team of people at Night Ferry focused on other places. Just two last week in Wisconsin. So that it's live and kicking. So let's talk about a little bit about cybercrime. Here's some numbers. If you don't know it, cybercrime, is it pretty successful for the cyber criminals? Yeah, anybody want to throw out a number of how successful it is for the cyber criminals in the year 2021 based on FBI records? Well, the answer is $6.9 billion. $6.9 billion success in the year 2021. Year 2022, the numbers are not yet up from the FBI, but I have to believe they're going up on that. And it just in the state of Wisconsin alone, we are talking $50 million. $50 million. Why is this on here so that people can't see my numbers? Just in the state of Wisconsin. I always look at this and say, if anything else Wisconsin was stolen, that was $50 million in 1 year, would we be talking about it? Would it be all over the news? Would be lots of conversations? Of course there would. It is, I don't know, how much did the Fiserv cost? Well, probably more than $50 million, but nonetheless, it's a good component of the Fiserv. And what this is called business email compromise in our real estate sector. Is what you are being exposed to. People's emails are compromised. Once people's emails are compromised, cyber criminals are inside your transaction. They're trying to steal money. I'm going to give you a brief history of the evolution of cybercrime in the real estate sector, so you can kind of have a global picture here. And then we'll talk about the newest and latest trend, the seller impersonation fraud that I just did that example. That was, by the way, my very first example. I just got the spoof card last night during the Super Bowl. It was actually during the halftime show. I mean, Rihanna. It was a pretty good halftime show, wasn't it?
I went shop pool.
You went shop pool.
Not it.
I had to because I have a daughter that's like, you have to go. You have to watch this. So in about 2010, the cyber criminals started in the real estate sector. Cyber criminals are typically people that are outside the United States. It's your friends in, I don't know, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Syria is a good cyber criminal. And guess what? Russia and China are huge cyber criminal countries as well. In 2010, the cyber criminals started by looking at title companies and said, title companies have a lot of money. We control a lot of money. In the Night Ferry realm, last year alone was over $40 billion in our company. Just our companies, $40 billion. So it'd be really cool if the cyber criminals could go, you know what, let's just bypass going directly into the escrow company or the title companies, the escrow companies. And they did that. In about 2010, the cyber criminals would hack in with malware onto title companies' systems, and they were able to get the login credentials for the banking account that the title company was using directly. And there was standard practice in the year 2010, not today in 2023, but standard practice that one person could initiate a wire transfer. So if the cyber criminals hacked one person's computer and was able to get the login credentials for one person, they could steal all the money out of that bank account. That happened in 2010. Night Ferry experienced that. We got enough money back, we made everybody whole, and then we changed all of our practices. Ladies, focus on Night Ferry. How many people do you need to initiate a wire transfer? 2. Minimum 2. Locally 2, and then we have a central wire transfer department that does it. So there's 3 people that look at it. So that was our mitigation. And then we added firewalls and we did this and we're like, oh, we're done. Our escrow accounts are safe. But then the cyber criminals are like, well, shoot, if I can't get money directly out of the escrow account, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I encourage the title companies to send the seller's proceeds to us? Okay. Now this one was a little different than the compromise. Before I told you it was a malware of one person's computer that got compromised. This next one was business email compromise. Somehow the cyber criminals inserted themselves into the transaction. Typically, and I apologize for saying this, but it's the truth, typically compromising some realtor's email. And the reason it was some realtor's email, but by that time in 2014, when this starts taking place, the title companies now have multi-factor authentication requirements. The banks have multi-factor authentication requirements. But the realtors don't always have that because realtors are all independent contractors. And to this day, when I give this presentation, I would say at least 20% of the people in every single audience don't have multi-factor authentication on their email. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But if you don't know what that means, you can just go ahead and Google multi-factor authentication. Make sure you have it on your email. Nonetheless, criminals inserted themselves into the transaction, and then they either right in before the closing, in the middle of the closing, or after the closing, would spoof the seller's email and tell the title companies, hey, instead of giving us a check at closing, wire the funds to us. Wire the funds to us. And many title companies got fooled at this because they relied on the email from the seller, which was really the seller, cyber criminal, to initiate the wire transfer. Ladies at Focus Title, do we rely on emails to initiate wire transfers for sellers' proceeds?
We do not.
We do not. What do?
We either talk to them in person or we go through our wonderful program called Certified.
That is right. So we don't rely on emails for wire transfer instructions. We've had communication, we've trained our staff. We feel pretty darn good about this. So we've locked down the title company, Nightberry and Focus Title. We've locked down, the money isn't going to originate out of our possession to somebody else. Oh, but wait, is money always in our possession? You can say it, the word is no. The money isn't always in our possession. So the next permutation and evolution of the cybercrime was buyers. So same origination, somebody's email is compromised. Unfortunately, typically it was a realtor's email that didn't have multi-factor authentication. And it was the buyer that was fooled into sending their cash to close funds, not to Focus Title or Nightberry Title, but to the cyber criminals. Because the buyer relied on an email to send their wire transfer instructions. Anybody that's here ever experienced one of that? And it's okay if you say so, because I know that's happened in this company. Because I've been involved in transactions where people have lost, buyers have lost money because they relied on that email and they didn't pick up the phone and call. And then they didn't call until days after the funds were already sent. And by that time, it was too late to get those funds back.
You
Sir.
tell the agents when that happens.
We don't know when, oh, I'm sorry. The instances where it's happened, certainly the agent knows about once we become aware of it. However, we don't know when that buyer sends their funds in, right? Because it's not our money. We've communicated with the buyer. Please, we're good with checks. Checks are typically just fine. Certified checks are great. My parents are buying a house in the next couple weeks. I'm telling them to send certified check. I don't want them to wire. So we've talked to them, but sometimes buyers are too overwhelmed, too busy. And even though we've told them a check is fine, or if you want to wire, here's our wire transfer instructions, they still will get
A certified check you need all.
I want a certified check around the dollar amount that the buyer needs for their cash to close. If they want to make it over that dollar amount and have some funds coming back, because let's say they want to round up.
$200,000
Okay.
cashier's checks. There are requirements.
So-
But yes, we are comfortable taking a cashier's check, any dollar amount. As long as there isn't a requirement on the other side of the transaction.
For a while, that was under.
Yeah, I think for a very long time, it's been a standard that it's a 20,000, 50,000.
Right. That's right. Okay.
price.
For Focus Title and Nightberry, we'll always take a certified check. We're happy with that. The only pause is the seller requires us to wire out their proceeds, or if we have to wire out the lender's payoff, then we need to have wired funds coming in matching the wired funds going out. Because if we're, let's say it's a cash transaction, buyer comes in with a $300,000 cashier's check, but we need to wire the funds to the seller. Well, I don't really have money when I have the buyer's cashier's check. I have the potential of money in the form of a cashier's check. I don't have it deposit. So here's our solution on that one, by the way. Bring your cash to close early. Let it season with us a couple days, and we'll be able to wire it out to the seller at the close. Wayne does run the money.
Right, buddy?
So to respond to this, the mitigation that we had for the buyer's cash to close is still going on right to this day. We started talking about it in Nightberry in 2015, these things. I can show you some publications I wrote. 2015, it's now 2023, we still have the same mitigation. Number one, building consumer awareness. You guys have an addendum now that you have through the WRA that talks about wire fraud. That's building consumer awareness, talking to your buyers well in advance of the closing, connecting them up who the title company is and where the funds need to go, and if they need to wire. Again, you don't need wires. I'm looking without wires for a long time. Number two, limit intrusion into emails with multi-factor authentication. And it's all about awareness, awareness, awareness. So what do we do on awareness on buyer's cash to close? We just need to make certain the buyers are aware of what's going on. Nightberry and Focus Title, as soon as you give us the buyer contact information, we reach out to the buyer with a product. It's a delivery system for our wire transfer instructions that all certified that we safely and securely send our wire transfer instructions early in the transaction. As soon as we know about the buyer, we send them the wire transfer instructions. We don't wait till closing. And the reason we do that is because between the time that the buyer puts their offer in and the closing, if the cyber criminals get in between there, we have problems. We want to get the buyer to know right away, here's your wire transfer instructions. They will never change. Have those. Even if you hear other stuff, they will never change. Call us, get our contact information. So by the way, you'll get emails from us early on in the transaction that says, we don't know who the buyer is necessarily. Please provide us the buyer contact information so we can connect up the buyer and make certain that they're aware of how the process goes. There's another new scam that's going on. Here's the two new twists. And we got your back on this one. The cyber criminals that have entered into the transactions say, you know what? I can't go directly into the escrow accounts. I know the title companies are too smart. I can't get them to fool the seller's proceeds because we're going to talk to the seller and make sure it's okay. Buyers take cash to close. We're trying to stop that, but the reality is, there's always the human element. Buyers will always get fooled. They always will. We're going to try to mitigate that. We cannot eliminate it. But here's the next one: is the mortgage payoff wire fraud. Cyber criminals are impersonating wire transfer instructions for mortgage payoffs. They've been very successful in doing that. And the big problem with this, with the mortgage payoff, is that you don't know that the fraud has taken place for months. Sir, look at me. So I look to you to represent your seller. Let's say we send the seller's proceeds to the cyber criminal. How quickly does your seller know that they don't have the money in their pockets? No, but aren't they going to look at their account statement and go, like, within 24 hours and go, oh, shoot, where's my $300,000? So let's say it's 24 hours. Now, let's say the same thing happens for a mortgage payoff. How long before that mortgage lender were aware that there's a problem with the money being sent to the wrong party with a mortgage payoff? Well, do you think that the mortgage lender is going to call us and go, did you send a wire transfer to us? Did you send the money to us? It's probably going to be months after, because the seller will probably get their mortgage statement after selling the property, and they'll say, oh, it still says they owe money, but you know what? The closing took place last month. Maybe it was just missed here. So it's probably a month and a half, 2 months. And by that time, the money's already overseas. The cyber criminals have stolen it, and there's no chance of recovery. So we have a new process that we use where we can verify the mortgage payoff wire transfer instructions electronically. There's an 85% response rate on that, and it's instantaneous. So we're locking that also down at Nightberry and Focus Title. But let's talk about why this all happens. This all happens because someone's email is compromised. And I'm going to show you an example from a realtor in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, in September of 2022, who it was a buyer's cash to close situation, about $56,000. We were able to get that money back, but the buyer was fooled to going to their bank and wire transferring to the wrong party, even though Nightberry had done everything right. And why is that? I said, hey, realtor, I think your email may be compromised. I think the criminals are in your email. And the realtor indicated, no, it's not. So why don't we have a Zoom so I can, with my IT staff, look at your email and see if there is a compromise. I'm going to walk through this Zoom, and you're going to see how scary it is and how quickly the cyber criminals can get into your email to cause all of this havoc that's caused $6.9 billion in the year 2021. So we Zoomed with this realtor, and she had Yahoo. And I said, okay, well, let's start off. Let's look at your password changes. Have you changed your password at all in the last week or so? And she said, I changed it twice. What do you have here? 1 password change, 2 password change, 3 password change. Sure you changed it twice? I'm positive. I changed my email password twice. Okay, let's keep going. then we said, okay, well, why don't we look and see where all the logins, what type of devices were logged in to your email? Because this is a cloud-based Yahoo email. The first one is Chrome. She said, yep, that's me. I'm actually on it right now. The next one was iPhone. That was her iPhone. That makes sense. And the third one is Safari Mobile. And we said, hey, do you have another cell phone? The Safari Mobile? And she said, nope. Anybody getting nervous yet? All right, let's keep going. I said, well, let's look at your IP addresses to see what IP addresses logged in to this email. The first one was up here, and that actually was Sheboygan, Wisconsin. That's cool. The next IP address that logged in was from Iowa. We said, were you in Iowa last week, September? I mean, because it was on Thursday and we were talking to her the following Thursday. She said no. So that's interesting. Did you know your email was logged into in Iowa? I wasn't there. What? And the next one is New Hampshire. Were you in New Hampshire last week either? You weren't in Iowa. Did you happen to fly to New Hampshire, log into your email and go away? No, I didn't. And this was very easy, by the way. You can do IP addresses. There's a website where you can verify the location of the IP address. Let's keep going. Then we said, and then she goes, but I didn't receive any emails from you guys. I don't know what's going on. So we went into her filters. A filter had been created by the cyber criminals that said, anytime an email comes in at knightberry.com, put it over to this folder that she had created called Zillow Invoice that she had created years ago and hadn't used. And anytime an email comes in from the buyer's email, send it over to the filter. Anytime it came in from C21rs.com, which was the listing side, send it over to the Zillow Invoice. And finally, also the lender's email, State Bank of Chilton. So anytime an email came in with those legitimate ending points, addresses of email, went over to this filter. That's number one. And then number two, the cyber criminals created spoofed emails for all of those parties. For Nightberry, they changed the I to a 1, can1, GHT.berry.com. There were similar minor changes for all of those parties involved. And then to boot, I said, let's go into your Zillow Invoice folder. Because she said, I never received your email invite to this Zoom, Cheri. I actually had it forwarded by my broker, who I had sent to as well. And why is that? Because my email ends in @knightberry.com, and it had gone into this invoice. As you can see, it hadn't been opened up because the cyber criminals by that time were out of her email, but all of the other ones were opened up. It took how long for those cyber criminals to create that issue? I would challenge you less than 30 minutes for $56,000. Seems like a pretty good payday, right? So what did we do? We said, oh, let's do one more step. Do you have multi-factor authentication or two-step verification on your email? She did not. So the criminals, all they had to do was get her email address. How hard is it to get the email address of a realtor? Not hard. I think you just Google, because y'all have your email addresses out there, number one. And then number two, they had to figure out the password. I've gone to YouTube and watched those 6 cyber criminals figure out how to get password. Not very difficult. But if you have multi-factor authentication, that is the best layer of protection we have. You guys all know what multi-factor authentication is. You get a little text to your phone that says, hey, in addition to your password, you got to use this 6-digit code. You don't use this 6-digit code in the next 5 minutes, it goes away. So she added that. Money was safe and secure. But if you were on the other side of that transaction, money had been lost, who would be sued? Who would the buyer that's lost $56,000 sue? Or rather, who would their attorney sue? The attorney would sue title company, both sides, right? Because everybody, and then they're probably going to sue the lender as well. They're going to sue everybody. And then you would be in litigation. You'd have to defend yourself and say it's not. And they would say, prove it. So you'd have to start pointing fingers at other people. So I think it's all realtors should be working with everybody in their transactions to say, hey, do you have your steps in place? Do you have multi-factor authentication on all of your emails? By the way, many times I do this presentation, somebody says, I do have it on my business email, but I don't have it on my personal email. And I say, well, do you ever send your business emails to your personal emails? I do. Okay. Now you got to make sure it's on that email as well. But my family uses that email. Guess what? My family all use hipenbecker@gmail.com. And all my kids and my husband don't like it when they have to get the 6-digit code from me to change the password. I don't care. Because that's what I'm going to put in as a minimum. But mom, I don't care. I put multi-factor authentication. So make sure it's on all of your emails. And how do you add multi-factor authentication? Well, it's pretty easy. You just go to YouTube, type in how to add multi-factor authentication, two-step verification, and then type in whatever email service provider you have, whether it's Yahoo, Gmail, even if it's GoDaddy. Even GoDaddy now has multi-factor authentication, and it's free. Yeah, they used to not do it. It was a pain in the ass. All right. So that's the history of cybercrime. Here's the new twist that I just showed you with Lynn earlier today, where I was trying to list my property and I was in Kentucky. And I said, hey, we need to email communication because I'm really busy and I don't really care about this property. This is called seller impersonation fraud. It started in around 2022, January, maybe a little earlier than that in Florida, because all good crimes start in Florida. It has creeped its way up to Wisconsin. And here's the goal. The cyber criminals are saying, how do I get money? They're following the money. And their thought is, what if I just, I don't know, impersonate a seller? I get a realtor to list a property. I sell the property. I sign a fraudulent deed. Somebody relies on it. And then I get the money directly. Let's just cut out the middleman of the real owner of the property. That's called seller impersonation fraud. I wish I was pretending that this wasn't real, but this is real. I get alerts about it every single day. And here's an example of one that we had, and this is an obnoxious one. They're getting better. This is an email that one of our agents in Florida received from Mr. Klug-Dieter. And Mr. Klug-Dieter says to Lynn, who is the realtor, thank you for your email. I understand that you're a real estate agent in Navarre, Florida. I won't be able to talk on the phone. I'm just going to highlight the things. As you already know, my lot at Sawfish Street, Navarre, Florida, is up for urgent sale. I am selling the lot because I'm far away from home, as I'm in urgent need of cash money because my health is, I am presently far away in Southeast Asia, where I'm presently taking medications. So my original address is in Germany. I lost my house due to fire accident. It's urgent. I need to settle medical bills, and I want you to list the property.
I don't like a support machine. That's even.
Right. Now, this is obnoxious, but the realtor didn't know about seller impersonation fraud, didn't know this was a thing, and came to us and said, is this legit? So we kind of looked at it and said, why? Let's just play along. Let's grab that, throw out that hook, grab that fish and see if we can pull them in. So we said, hey, why don't you have Klug-Dieter send you a copy of the passport? So they send us a copy of this passport. Look at this picture. And I'm looking at that picture and I'm like, shoot, I think I've seen this picture before. And then I look and go, oh, I got the same exact picture on another passport from an alert earlier in the month. So these cyber criminals, they were not too smart in September. I will tell you today in February of 2023, they're getting better. We caught 2 of them last week, and both times the properties were listed. In Florida, in fact, there were 6 vacant lots. The fraudster reached out to 3 different realtors, had 2 lots listed with each different realtor, was under contract with buyers for all 6 lots, and had title companies engaged. We stopped it. We reached out to the other title companies and said, this is an issue. Realtors had no idea about it. We just had one up north in Hayward County, and it was a vacant property as well as a second home. It was listed. It was on MLS. We saw it. We pulled it back. This is real. And the reason it's real is they're getting better about it, and realtors don't know about it. So what's our goal here? Number one, to inform you, engage and educate, educate. They're going to get bigger. I just like that last one. So some things to watch out for seller impersonation fraud. Number one, unimproved property with absentee owners. That's the key. They're looking at, so what's the first thing? You're a realtor, sir. What's the first thing? Somebody says, hey, I want to sell my property. What do?
Ask where it is.
Yeah. And then do you meet them at the property to walk through it? No, if it's a vacant land, you just sit, could I, as the person impersonating an owner of the property, just say, hey, why don't you, it's vacant property, go ahead on the property. I give you my permission. So that's number one. So it's vacant property, or it's property that's absentee owners as well. That's a little bit more difficult because you're still probably going to want to go inside the property. But that doesn't mean they don't try. They don't try. Number two, property is free and clear mortgage. That's nice. Cyber criminals like to get as much money as possible, but not necessarily. It may not necessarily be free and clear mortgage. A connection to one or more foreign countries. In the email I just showed you, how many foreign countries did we have? Germany, Southeast Asia, United States. You know, they're always all over the place, whatever it is. Fraudster only communicates via via email or texting. Usually they'll be the first phone call now. That's the key on the nuance here. Instead of the email, the initiating email, the spoof card thing that I just did with Lynn, that's the first communication. So yeah, you've talked to the criminal. Did you really talk to a guy named Bob Hipenbecker? No. That's my husband, by the way, so I can make fun. Usually cash transaction, extreme pressure to close fast because the criminals are trying to say, go, 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 go. So you don't stop pausing, you use common sense. The seller insists on identifying their own notary. There's the key right there. Because once the cyber criminal has got you to list the property, found a buyer, now they got to fool the title company. How do they fool the title company? Well, they say, hey, just email me a copy of the deed. I have my own notary on site, and I'll make sure that the deed gets notarized that way. If we fall for that, what's going to come back to us as the title company? We email them the deed and they FedEx it back to us. Hell, yes, it's going to be fraudulent, and I'll show you one in the next few moments. And then obviously the ID presented is going to be forgery, so you can ask for the ID. It's going to be a fraud as well. And then, of course, what's the end goal of these seller impersonation fraudsters, cyber criminals? They want the money wired to them because we make out a check to the real name. It's never going to be negotiated. But if we wire the money, oh yeah, it's getting overseas. It's going to be into their own pockets. So, so that you know, you're in good shape with Nigerian Focus Title. We want you guys to stop it earlier on, by the way. But if you get to us, know that this is what we're doing to safeguard these transactions. Number one, we're going to scrutinize your communications with that seller. We might ask you, can you send me what you communicate? Did you email or did you text with that seller? Do you have a phone number? Let's look at those things. Let's see if we're spotting any red flags. Number two, we might try to find a trusted professional, somebody, let's say it is a real legit person. Every once in a while, we do have people that are outside of the United States. They're selling property in the United States. Well, typically they know somebody in the United States that we can meet with and touch and feel and go with that. So we kind of snip that out. We actually will send a letter to the owner of the property using the address on the tax bill. Vacant land, do you get the tax bill sent to you at the vacant land, or do you get it sent to your home address? Okay, let's say your home address is in Canada. We will send a letter to the real owner of the property in Canada, and it's a form letter we have in our system that basically says, hey, to prevent against fraud, we're just doing this. Can you reach out and verify that you in fact are selling this property? This is you. Here's a code on that letter. We in Florida have gotten a lot of calls back. Like, oh, it's not me that's in fact selling that property. We compare the photo and the information on the seller ID. We video call. This is our biggest thing. These fraudsters won't, at least as of today, I've not been able to get a fraudster to join me on a video call. I am hoping to do so soon, because then I am going to film that bugger and I'm going to use it as part of this presentation. We provide two forms of ID. We control the signing. Here's the biggest thing. We want to make sure that whoever is the notary is going to be a notary of our choosing. Here's an example. Our very first one at Nightberry, we got fooled. We recorded a deed because we didn't know this was a thing. We didn't know this was a thing. We emailed the person deed. They go off to the Netherlands and they get it notarized. And we said, hey, we got a consulate in the Netherlands signing this deed. This has got to be legit, right? That sure looks pretty good, doesn't it? So after I found out that it might be a fraud, I sent an email to the consulate in the Netherlands. I said, hey, I just want to verify that that deed was really signed by Mr. Simon Gedalia. And the response from the consulate's office in less than 24 hours was, nope, that wasn't a real execution at our office. And in fact, in our particular office, we don't even have notary public services. There you go. Don't worry. We made the buyer whole. Buyer actually owns the property. We got a deed from the real owner of the property that lived in Canada. But after that happened, guess who trained everybody at Nightberry? Y'all saw all my videos, right? Are you bored with my videos? Now you know why you have those videos. Because of this particular one right there. And I don't want anybody else to fall prey to it. So that's what we have. If it happens to you, by the way, and I want to keep this relatively brief, open it up for questions if there are any questions. I want to really just give you a touch base. Here's the new stuff that's going on. Be aware of it. Know that you're in good hands, and we're trying to stay as far ahead as we can. But the reality is the cyber criminals are pivoting. We need to pivot as well. You need to be aware of it. But if this happens to you, know that we do have a game plan at our company to help out, be able to get that money back, and to be able to prevent the next transaction. Because I would say once every other week, we have a transaction where it's clear somebody is trying to be fooled into wire transferring funds. we get on the phone with realtors or lenders, or whoever it was, contractor, a general contractor last week, and we say, hey, let's talk about multi-factor authentication and what your protocol is. And then we have our game plan we go through. I wanted to keep it brief. That's about it. I can talk for the next few moments. We want to do this video for fun? Let's see if it goes through. I don't know if it's going to go through. Let's see. And if it happens, if your buyer loses money because we don't have it, not only are you going to be sued, whether you're on the either side of the transaction, the press probably isn't going to be the best. Here's an example of, I don't know if,
Jasper, and we deliver award-winning messages right to your door.
well, let's skip that.
Well, new advice, thousands of dollars saved to buy a home end up in the hands of international hackers.
Brian and Sandy Bridges say their real estate agent sent the link. All they did was follow instructions to wire the money. As nuisance investigator Mike Holfeld found out, no one ever checked to make sure that link was real.
Now, who is Shanna Watts?
For Brian Bridges,
Cheri is with the title company.
it was a real estate deception he never saw coming.
In my eye, it looks right.
An email forwarded by their realtor included instructions from the title company to wire funds for the closing on their new home.
You see stuff in the news, right? And then it's happening to you. It's
That up punch, he sent the $46,000 down payment to the hackers. Look, this is a legitimate message from title team, complete with a warning. All first before wiring money. This is the fake.
No.
What happened? Brian and Sandy Bridges say their realtor, Kelly Butterfield, an agent with Remax 200 Realty, forwarded the instructions from her personal business account.
When you sent that money, did you feel confident you were doing the right thing?
yes,
Independent forensics check confirms
right here.
their real estate agent's email account had been compromised. The IP address for that title company actually leads to an account
Midrand, South Africa.
in Midrand, South Africa.
Who should be held accountable here? Well, based on this scenario, real estate agents accountable, we should reach our own policy.
Attorney Moses DeWitt says that policy was in the contract. A wire fraud alert that reads in part, do not wire any funds without personally speaking directly to the office that is closing the transaction.
First, have that conversation with you that there might be a risk in wiring money.
Not one time.
A huge problem here because you know about the issue, there's a security problem, yet you can be laissez-faire with your own conduct.
DeWitt has filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Bridges against Butterfield and Remax. But in a motion to dismiss, attorney Philip Bonus argues the wire fraud alert clause, quote, releases these defendants from precisely the risk and damage being claimed.
Nobody is above getting that.
Orlando Regional Realtor Association President Jeffrey Fagan says hackers actually time their move for the busiest time of the month.
If you drop your guard, you can get caught.
Isn't that something? Listen, because the case is in litigation, both the realtor and her attorney find comment. This case, though, it goes beyond the real estate industry. Hackers are constantly monitoring businesses handling financial transactions. It's a real mess. Anytime there's money, obviously check to make sure the email you receive is legitimate.
I have to say, this is the first time I've ever heard of something like this actually happening, and it really makes you want to be very careful if you ever wire money. So
Yeah.
were they able to get any of their money back?
Yes, this happened at the closing. They're sitting there and they say, what, the money gone? He ran to the bank. Brian ran to the bank. They found out the money was missing at the closing. They called the bank and recovered $12,000. But the rest, folks, South Africa.
There you go. So that's kind of fun, folks. By the way, anybody want to guess what happened to the litigation after this? Because it is done. Well, first of all, if I'm Kelly Butterfield, I love that, right? Great. My name is out there for having a compromised email and not settling. So yes, Kelly Butterfield settled. Her realtor, her broker settled. What dollar amount between the 46,000 and 12,000 recovered? I don't know. I'm imagining it's pretty hefty. And if anything, even the litigation fees are pretty hefty because you've been sued now. You have to hire an attorney. And I can tell you right now, to put an answer in with the outside counsel, it's usually about $5,000 just for the answer, not the actual litigation. So that's it for cybercrime. I have a couple minor things I just want to point out to you about some new Wisconsin laws that passed in the year 2022. just to be aware. So you have it in your radar. First, private road maintenance. Ever sell a property on an easement road on a private road, sir? You never did? Oh, shoot. Okay. So here's the issue. Properties on the easement private road, there's a lot of them in Wisconsin. I always say the entire county, Door County is that's Highway 42 and the rest is all private roads. There are no maintenance agreements. I would imagine 2% or so of private roads have an actual recorded maintenance agreement that says who takes care of the costs of the road. For the snowplow, the putting in new gravel, if you need to have some new asphalt. Let's say you have a flood and things need to be fixed. None of that is on recorded in land records. People just, somebody always did it. You always had, when we lived on a private road, my husband just took care of the camping, right? We went out there, we camped it away, it was all good. The problem was that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that does the most amount of lending on residential properties in the United States, said that's not good enough. If you're on a private road, we won't lend unless there is a maintenance agreement recorded in the land records about this, or there is actually a state law that fills the gap that says, how do you share the cost of maintenance, all of the 20 property owners along that road. So we passed a law that was the law that I initiated. So I'm very happy about that. Last year that's been passed, and there was a halt on lending on private roads. Now there isn't that halt. At least that hurdle has been overcome. That's number one. Number two, if you are not aware, easements used to be enforceable only by the party using the easement if they were re-recorded every 40 years. That law was changed in spring of 2022 to say if an easement was recorded a private access easement, that is, like not like your utility easements or your gas, electric, but I want to cross my neighbor's property to get my property. That's called a private access easement. If it was recorded January 1, 1960 forward, that is enforceable for all time. So that was a new massive change in our industry, probably for the best. And finally, there's a new homeowners association bill that says homeowners association, if you want to get paid, you need to tell the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions that you're alive and kicking, give some contact information, put it on their public facing website. That was passed and went into effect as of January 1 of 2023. We have an article on NetBerry's website that's on point. So to the extent that you run a homeowners association or you know anybody that does, let them be aware of this new law that says you got to put some documentation with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions telling them that, hey, I'm alive. And it's really nice for us to tell people because then we know who to contact. A lot of times we're like, I don't know who to call. People are like, I don't know who the treasurer is. That information should now be on the public facing website of the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. That's it for my friends. Hopefully this was helpful. I am dying. I don't know if you see me, but it is hot here. Need to cool down. That's it. If there are any questions, you're welcome to reach out to any of the ladies at Well, there's a couple guys at Focus Title. Are there a few? There's a few. Okay. Well, any of the ladies or the gentlemen at Focus Title. And you can always pull me in directly to answer any questions. Keep transactions safe. Please add multi-factor authentication if you don't have it on all of your email addresses, and talk to all of your friends and make sure they have that as well. That's it. I think. Let's stop it.
Thanks, Cheri. Thanks, Cheri.
There's not a lot of people in person, by the way. So anything in the chat? No? All right. Well, I'm going to end this. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. For now.